Hi everyone and welcome back to my Consultant Explorer channel. I'm Charlie and I'm here to help you explore the early career years of technology consulting, how to be successful at it and how to make the most of the opportunities that it can open up for you. I spent 8.5 years at Accenture building the most incredible launchpad for my own career, and now I get to choose what I work on whenever and wherever I want to in the world, and that's the kind of freedom I can help you find in your journey, which starts just as mine did in technology consulting. So what are we covering today? 3 key things you're going to learn at each career level. When you're a junior consultant in the very early stages of your career, and actually to be honest at any point in your career, it can be really scary to look at your boss and their boss and their boss and actually imagine yourself ever doing their job and being able to fill their shoes. And it can be even harder to imagine if you haven't even started in consulting yet. So knowing the 3 key things that you're going to learn at each career level before you progress to the next stage, it's going to really help you visualize yourself doing those things, progressing through the levels. And the more you visualize yourself doing those things, the faster you're going to be able to do them. I think back to this windsurfing trip I went on with a friend once, and my friend had spent hours watching how-to videos on YouTube before we went, so she was really prepared mentally for what we needed to do. I, on the other hand, thought, windsurfing can't be that hard, got straight up on a board, obviously wiped out multiple times. So, visualizing yourself doing something is the key to learning exactly how you're going to do it. And another important reason to know the 3 key things you're going to learn at each career level is so that you can really understand whether consulting is actually the job for you. Knowing the kinds of things you're going to be expected to be doing every single day at those career levels helps you get a sense really of whether it's something that you want to be doing. And moving up the career levels in consulting is just what you're going to do if you join, especially if you're the ambitious sort. And if you want to get even more of a sense of what an actual day, minute by minute feels like at each of these career levels, then I have a day in the life videos on my channel too. But the 3 things for each career level that I'm going to tell you about today are really gateways to get to the next level. And that's not to say that they're the only promotion criteria that you need to meet in order to be promoted. I have other videos explaining promotion criteria too. But really these gateways are essentially deal breakers. If you're not doing these 3 things, even if you're meeting all the other promotion criteria, you will not be ready for promotion. I should just caveat that I'm only going to be covering the career levels that are generally within the first 8 to 11 years of your career, because those are the ones I can really talk about with credibility. So the first level is generally called Analyst level, and this is the first 2 to 3 years of your career. It's a graduate level or a grad scheme. And if you've never done an internship before, this could be your first ever corporate job, in which case there's a shed load of very basic stuff to learn, like what to wear to the office and what time it's okay to clock off. And that's before you even get into the meaty things like how to contribute towards a project deliverable for your client. The best analysts obviously learn to do all of this really well, but they're only ready to be promoted to the next level, and often that's called consultant level, if they've learned these 3 key things. Number 1, always be clear on the ask. You will be given work to do by your line manager, and different line managers will have different styles. Some would be very prescriptive, others might just give you a very high level brief. Either way, you need to really be clear on the ask so that when you set to work, you start creating something that is actually of value to both your line manager and your client. If you spend time working on something without having really understood the ask, then you're likely wasting that time because what you create may or may not be usable and likely is going to create frustration for your manager and for your client. The key thing is that if your line manager knows that you always clarify if you don't understand even the smallest of things, that line manager will trust you every time they tell you or give you a piece of work. They know that you're going to come back with having worked on exactly what it is that they're after. Number 2, be professional. And actually often this one just works in tandem with emotional maturity. Being professional is about always being appropriate and respectful. For example, it's normal in social situations to use slang or to wear things like ripped jeans, or maybe even to leave someone hanging if they've annoyed you a little bit. But in the workplace, those things don't fly. It's really important to always act like an adult. It's okay to go to the pub with a colleague after work and talk about your dating life, but it's not okay to talk about that loudly across a client office where clients might be listening. So always be aware of who's watching you, who's listening to you, and how that might reflect not just on you, but on the firm that you represent. Number 3, be proactive. Proactivity, when it's deployed in the right spaces, is the number one differentiator for a high-performing analyst, because it shows that they're able to understand and think outside of their dedicated sphere. You could be proactive with things like going the extra mile on the deliverable that you're helping with. Or more impressively, you could be proactive by understanding that someone else is stressed and has too much on and you could help them. Or even more impressively, you could be really proactive by spotting that there is some sort of gap in the work that your project team is doing and actually raising your hand and offering to fill that gap in a way that you know. That's really impressive because it shows that you don't just focus on your own piece of work, but you actually have a much broader understanding of everything that's going on around you, which is not necessarily always expected of analysts. So when the analyst, after 2 to 3 years, has made it to consultant level, we can generally be very confident that they have learned to always clarify the ask, always be professional, and generally be as proactive as possible. Now at consultant level, there are 3 more things they're going to need to learn to do before they can be ready for manager level. I remember at consultant level, you have around 3 years again to learn this. So by the time you're ready for promotion from consultant level, you should be around 5 or 6 years into your career. Okay, number 1, how to work independently. As a consultant, you will own deliverables, and along with any direct reports that might be reporting to you, you are responsible collectively for creating those deliverables according to the timeline you've been given. Now, things around you within your project, they will be changing all the time. And that might mean that you need to replan your approach a little bit for your deliverables, or you might even need to change the desired output for those deliverables. But the more that you understand what's going on, and the more that you really are knowledgeable about what it is that you're trying to achieve, the more that you're going to be able to replan and still meet the deadlines that you have without needing any guidance from your manager. It's okay to ask for help whenever you need it from your seniors, because that's what they're there for. They're there to provide air cover. But generally, the consultants that don't need to ask for help and can operate much more independently are the ones that are ready for the next level. Number 2, how to raise a risk effectively. So this one actually builds on number 1, because as things around you are changing all the time, it might be that one of those changes actually means that you cannot complete your deliverable, even if you try to replan or change your approach. That is that one of these changes is actually completely outside of your control. This is a risk, and if you're able to see it as a risk and raise it effectively, i.e. raise it in the way that is designated within your project so that it can be mitigated collaboratively with the people that need to be involved, that is the key skill that you need to show as a consultant. Now, once you've raised that risk, it may or may not be mitigated. If it isn't mitigated though, it is not your fault if you do not complete your deliverable, because something outside of your control got in the way. You might have started to notice a theme here: trust. Now, the reason that number 1, working independently, and number 2, raising risks, is so important is so that your line management and all of your seniors have complete trust in the fact that you are going to deliver the deliverable that you are supposed to in the time that you're supposed to deliver it. They know that if there is something that might get in the way of you delivering that deliverable, they will hear about it as a risk, and that otherwise you will be busy working on exactly what it is that you need to do by the time that you need to do it. Number 3, guiding your juniors effectively. Now, it is very common that a consultant will be supported by an analyst on the deliverable or set of deliverables that they're responsible for. And this is a brilliant opportunity to learn how to day-to-day line manage someone very early on in your consulting career. But every analyst is different. Some analysts may not have any knowledge at all because they've literally just joined the firm. Others might actually have quite a lot of experience under their belt already, and they might have opinions that are very different to yours in exactly how this deliverable should be achieved. You need to be able to empathise with your analyst and learn exactly how to manage them in a way that makes them the most productive and the most happy that they can be while they're working for you. So, when a consultant makes it to manager, in around about year 5 or 6 of their career, we can be pretty confident that they have learnt to work independently, raise risks effectively, and they know how to guide juniors. Now, as a manager, for the next between 3 and 5 years of your career, you need to learn to do these 3 things before you can make it to senior manager. Number 1, know how to manage a team. Obviously, this is what it says on the tin when you're a manager. But knowing how to manage people is a really, really important skill in consulting. You will have a team of consultants and analysts, all with varying capabilities, varying emotions, varying happiness levels, and varying ambitions and drives. Knowing how to manage each and every one of those people in your team and making them as productive and as happy as they can be is one of the best skills that you can learn. Having a happy and productive team is exactly what makes a manager really successful. And as a manager, it's also really important that you have consultants and analysts that want to work for you again. So it's in your best interest to make sure that you are a really effective manager. Number 2, knowledge transfer between sub-teams. Now, this is a more complex concept, but as a manager, you have other peers, i.e. other managers, who also have consultants and analysts within their teams. Each of these sub-teams is working on their own deliverables in their own timelines. But there will be dependencies and parallels between what all of those teams are doing, because after all, you're all part of the same project team with the same overall objective. Now, as a manager above each of those teams, you are in the privileged position to be able to have the visibility across what the other teams are doing, whereas the people working in your team are heads down on actually delivering the deliverables that they have been made responsible for. So it is your responsibility as a manager to join the dots, to understand what all the other teams are doing, and to make sure that people are aware where they need to be, of what else is going on, what dependencies there are, and what interlinks that need to be created. If each manager of each sub-team is constantly ensuring through their visibility that every sub-team is working collaboratively where necessary, then the project team as a whole will be much more successful. Number 3, become known for something. So as a manager, lots of benefits actually start to kick in. Like, for example, you get access to new bonus pools, or you also start to get a car allowance, and you might get invited to really expensive client entertainment events. Now, the implications of these benefits is that your cost as a resource starts to actually increase. So a project that wants to staff you is going to have to take on more cost in order to be able to bring you onto their team. I have another video, by the way, if you're really interested in the complex dynamics of P&L on projects. Do have a look if you're interested. But it's not the end of the world if your cost goes up, if your value has also gone up to justify that cost. And how do you make your value go up? You get really good at something, i.e. you become known for being really good at something. Because if there are senior managers and MDs out there that have roles that they're trying to staff, and they know that you're really good at the thing that they need, they're going to staff you in a heartbeat. So the managers that have become known for being really good at something, especially if that thing is something that clients really want, their future generally looks very promising. So when a manager makes it to senior manager around about years 8 to 11 of their career, we can be very confident that they know how to manage a team, they are good at ensuring knowledge transfer between different sub-teams on a project, and that they have developed a specific skill set that is client relevant and that they are known for. Now at senior manager level, you have another 3 to 5 years to learn the next 3 key skills before you make it to the next level. Number 1, manage and mitigate major risks and escalations. As a senior manager, you will have a number of different managers reporting into you, and each of those managers will have their own sub-teams to manage, consisting of consultants and analysts. Now, those managers will be containing a number of risks within those sub-teams, but every so often there will be risks that those managers are not able to contain. And generally it's because those risks involve third parties. For example, it might be a dependency on another consultancy, or a technology vendor, or another project team, or maybe even on a client stakeholder or set of stakeholders. Now, as that senior manager, you are the one who is responsible for bringing in all the right people to find a collaborative mitigation for that risk. You are also responsible for communicating with your key client and ensuring that they are aware of this risk and the potential implications to the success of your project. Number 2, sell more work. Now, this is one of the things that's actually quite unique to consulting, in that your career shifts at senior manager level from pure project delivery to actually sales as well as delivery in parallel. As a senior manager, you will not have a sales target in the same way that a salesperson in industry might have, but your ability to sell and drive business for your company in a way that an entrepreneur kind of does is actually part of your annual performance evaluation. And so it will factor into the overall compensation that you get at the end of the year. If you remember that thing that you became known for at manager level, Often that becomes your launch pad for selling more work, because it's not just your colleagues that know you for it, it's also your clients. Number 3, maintain strategic relationships with your clients. Now, over the course of your career, you will have so many different client stakeholders, and some of those stakeholders will end up being strategic for you. Often you will go up the career ladder in parallel with them going up their career ladder in their company too. And maintaining that relationship strategically means that you're really well positioned for being that client's confidant, the person they come to when they have a problem that they need a consultant to help solve. The ultimate objective is to be so in sync with this client that you know their personal objectives, you know what they need to achieve both annually and quarterly within their own career, and you basically have the insight as to exactly how you can help them to be successful. So every single day, a really high performing senior manager will be managing and mitigating major escalations and risks, selling work or working on the next sale, and linked to that, maintaining strategic relationships with clients. So for the first 8 to 11 years of your career in consulting, we've walked through the 3 key things that you need to be doing at each career level. These 3 key things are really gateways to being promoted to the next level. You've seen how your journey evolves from becoming more grounded as an analyst, to becoming more self-sufficient as a consultant, to both broadening and deepening your perspective and expertise as a manager, ultimately to driving forward the business as a senior manager. So hopefully this has really helped you to start visualizing yourself moving up through these career levels. And remember, visualization equals success, as I so embarrassingly learned whilst windsurfing. Hopefully also you've been able to validate that this is the career for you, and that the things that you'll be doing later into your career ladder, you will really actually enjoy. It is certainly a rapid learning curve, but it 100% delivers for your drive, your ambition, and your thirst for knowledge. I really hope that's been useful for you. If it has, then do like the video. If you'd like to see what I post next, then definitely subscribe to my channel. I have posted social media links below if you'd like those. And if you have any questions, then feel free to use the comments here and I will do my best to answer absolutely everything. In the meantime, thank you so much for listening. I wish you a great day and all the best with your exploring.